Welcome to Signal Mystery, the channel, where we uncover the world's greatest mystery stories. The 5 cases I'm about to share with you have something in common. Witnesses existed but couldn't explain what they saw. Evidence was found, but made no sense. And investigators worked for decades and still came up empty. But here's the thing about these particular stories. Some of them actually have answers now. And the answers are scarier than the mystery ever was. Stay with me until the end. Case 1, the Dyatlov Pass Incident. In January 1959, 9 university students set off on a ski expedition into the Ural, mountains of the Soviet Union. All of them experienced mountaineers led by a 23-year-old engineering student named Igor Dyatlov, who had made trips like this many times before. In early February, contact went silent. When a search party reached their campsite, they found the tent cut open from the inside through the side wall. With everything still left behind, shoes, coats, cameras, diaries, vodka, and a half-cooked meal on the stove. Leading away from the tent were 8 or 9 sets of footprints, heading downhill into the forest, some barefoot, some in only socks, in temperatures of -30 degrees Celsius. 2 bodies were found at the base of a cedar tree, nearly undressed, with the branches above broken up to 5 meters high as though someone had climbed it. The remaining 4 were found months later, buried in a ravine with massive internal injuries, broken ribs and fractured skulls, but no external wounds, no bruising, and no signs of a struggle. One woman was missing her tongue and both eyes. Radiation traces were found on some of the clothing. Soviet authorities closed the case in a single-sentence death, caused by an unknown compelling force. The file was classified. In 2019, Russian prosecutors concluded the cause was a delayed avalanche that triggered a panic, causing the group to cut through the tent and flee without their clothing, with some crushed by snow and the rest dying of hypothermia in the dark. A lot of it makes sense, but it doesn't explain the missing tongue, the radiation, or why the file was classified for 60 years. The Russian government still hasn't answered those questions. Case 2, the Elisa Lam case. In January 2013, a 21-year-old Canadian student named Elisa Lam checked into the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles, a cheap and centrally located option that she may not have known. Had a long history of suicides, murders, and at least one confirmed serial killer who had used it as a base of operations. At the end of January, she stopped responding to messages. Police found elevator CCTV footage that would eventually be watched by tens of millions of people worldwide. Elisa enters the elevator and presses several buttons, but the doors won't close. She steps in and out of the hallway repeatedly, then extends her arms toward something invisible and moves her lips, as if speaking to someone before walking away and the doors finally closing on their own. 3 weeks later, guests complained that the water tasted strange. A maintenance worker found Elisa's body in a rooftop water tank, unclothed with her belongings, floating nearby and the lid of the tank closed. The autopsy found no drugs, no foul play, and no signs of struggle. Cause of death: accidental drowning? Investigators later confirmed that Elisa had bipolar disorder and had stopped taking her medication during the trip, and that the elevator she was in required a keycard swipe from outside to close the doors, meaning pressing buttons from inside did nothing. She was likely trapped in a malfunctioning elevator during a psychiatric episode, not reacting to something supernatural. That part makes sense. But the water tank doesn't, because the lid structure makes it nearly impossible to close from the inside, and there is still no official explanation for how she got in or why the lid was shut. Case 3, the Zodiac killer. In late 1968 in California, a man shot a couple in a parked car, killing one and leaving one alive, then walked away. Days later, 3 newspapers received letters containing crime scene details. Only the actual killer could have known, each ending with the same challenge. If you want to catch me, solve this cipher. He called himself the Zodiac. Over the next 2 years, at least 5 more people were killed, with some researchers putting the real number closer to 37, and 4 coded ciphers were sent in total. The first, made of 408 symbols, defeated the FBI, but was decoded in 20 days by an amateur teacher who found it in a newspaper, revealing that the Zodiac described the thrill of killing and claimed his victims would serve as his slaves in the afterlife. The second cipher, the Z340, took 51 years to crack, finally decoded by a team working with the FBI in 2020. The third and fourth have never been decoded, and the Zodiac claimed his real name was hidden inside one of them. When the Z340 was solved, there was no name, just more grandiose fantasies, which means if the Zodiac was telling the truth, his identity is still sitting inside one of the two ciphers that no one has ever cracked. The strongest suspect, Arthur Lee Allen, died in 2002 with his DNA not matching the letters. The case is still officially open. Case 4D, B. Cooper. On November 24, 1971, the day before Thanksgiving, a man in his 40s boarded a Northwest Orient flight in Portland, wearing a dark suit and clip-on tie and giving his name as D. B. Cooper. Shortly after takeoff, he passed a note to a flight attendant, claiming he had a bomb and demanding $200,000 in cash and 4 parachutes. The airline complied. Passengers were released in Seattle, the money and parachutes were delivered. Then the plane took off again with just Cooper and the crew. About an hour into the flight, the rear door alarm sounded. No response from Cooper. The plane shuddered slightly. Somewhere over the forests of the Pacific Northwest, D. B. Cooper had jumped out of a commercial aircraft. With $200,000 strapped to him, the FBI searched the estimated landing zone for years and found nothing. No person, no parachute, no money. In 1980, a boy found a bundle of deteriorated banknotes along the Columbia River, whose serial numbers matched the ransom. But the location didn't align with any of the FBI's projected landing zones, and the rest of the money was never found. The FBI officially suspended the investigation in 2016. It remains the only unsolved case of air piracy in American aviation history, and no one knows who D. B. Cooper was or whether he survived the jump. Case 5. The Bermuda Triangle. The Bermuda Triangle, the stretch of ocean roughly bounded by Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, has supposedly swallowed dozens of ships and aircraft without a trace, with theories ranging from UFOs and underwater cities to magnetic anomalies and methane gas eruptions. The most famous incident is Flight 19 in December 1945, when 5 Navy torpedo bombers vanished during a training exercise, and the flight leader's last recorded words were, "Everything looks strange, even the ocean." None of the 5 planes ever came back, and a rescue aircraft sent to find them also disappeared. In 2013, Lloyd's of London stated that the Bermuda Triangle does not have a higher incident rate than any comparable area of ocean, and the U.S. Coast Guard has never classified it as a zone of unusual danger. The region is one of the most heavily trafficked stretches of ocean on Earth, so of course, the absolute number of accidents is high, but proportionally, it is not exceptional. Most of the myth traces back to a single 1974 bestseller by writer Charles Berlitz, who included incidents from entirely different parts of the ocean and described ships as missing when they had already been found. The most famous mystery in the world was never really a mystery at all. But Flight 19 is still worth thinking about. The official explanation is pilot disorientation, compass failure, and bad weather leading to fuel exhaustion over open ocean. A lot of it adds up, but the flight leader had over 2,500 hours of flying experience, knew that region well, and his last words, "Everything looks strange, even the ocean have never been fully explained." Whatever he saw in those final moments went down with him. That's all 5. Some got answers that raised more questions, and some are still completely open. Dyatlov Pass makes sense as an avalanche, but what about the tongue? Elisa Lam makes sense as a psychiatric crisis. But what about the water tank lid? The Bermuda Triangle was mostly a myth, but the flight leader's last words still haven't been explained. Maybe what keeps drawing us back to these stories isn't the need for answers. It's the feeling that the world is stranger and larger than we're willing to admit on a normal day. And these stories give us permission to believe that, just for a while. If you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the like button. I'll be back with more stories you've never heard before.